Ball Up Top podcast. Yo, episode 3. Got my boy Jabari Golston with me,
Yes, sir.
aka Ball Up Top Bari. It's Brad Guapovich. We're here, man. We're just here to do what we do. Talk basketball. It's been an interesting couple days. Last night we had 30 teams playing,
Everybody
every single
played.
team. So I tried to catch as much as I could, but I couldn't catch everything. I got to run it back today and look at some of the other games. I passed out watching the Warriors Wizards because I missed that because I was watching the Celtics.
Mm,
So I'm gonna go back and Jabari put me up to all possessions on League Pass, so now I can cut
for
it
sure.
down to
Yeah.
like 45 minutes because I was trying to fast forward through everything. I wasn't hip. But first thing we can get into, actually, first thing I want to talk about is like because I was on Twitter and I'm telling people that NFL is boring. Because listen, I'm an NFL fan since the '90s. It's literally since the '90s when I was a kid. I've been watching since Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, Barry Sanders, Jerry Rice. And I've watched every Sunday, literally my entire life since then, watching football. And so I'm not like a football hater. So I can't. But there's a lot of people on the internet when you talk about like, because people talk bad about the NBA.
Right.
People are saying that it's not as popular, which we know. I'll fully admit, obviously, that the NFL is the most popular sport in America.
Right.
So nobody's kind of trying to argue what's more popular. I'm not saying what's more popular because we all know NFL is more popular. Globally, it'll be basketball. But anyway, so I tweeted out like that because I was watching on Sunday, and most
Hmm.
of 80% of the games that I watch in the NFL are boring to me.
I
Like,
agree.
or they're just not entertaining. The bad quarterback play, bad offensive line, or whatever, bad
Yep.
defense now, and people will say it's still way better than it's still way better than basketball. That's why NFL is the most popular. Like on Twitter, they're just going at me. Oh, the NBA's dying and all this. So I just want to go on a rant real quick. You ready for my rant?
Yeah. Nah. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
So
ready. I'm ready.
listen, you can only have this conversation with somebody that's a football fan and a basketball fan because if you ask a lot of people, they're just football fans.
Right.
So then of course they're gonna say fuck it, the NBA. So, but here's my deal, right? NFL has not like progressed like the NBA. The NBA every year players come in more skilled,
Hmm.
and that's why people are even mad at the NBA now, saying because they think that people are too skilled, they shoot too many threes, it's too uh offensive like game. Even and they try to say that they don't play defense, which is bullshit
Right.
because
That's
you're
crazy.
not a good team
If you can't
unless you
play
can play
defense.
defense in the NBA. If you can't play defense, you're not going to be a good team in the NBA. So that's number one. Just like in the NFL, but I can look at the NFL and say I don't think that the talent has really gotten. They haven't gotten more skilled. They
Right.
might have gotten like overall more athletic, but like the talent and the IQ of the game isn't as taught as well as it was even like the early 2000s to like 2010, 2012, like the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger years to now. I just feel like the skill hasn't got that much better. Like there's not a running back in the the NFL more skilled than like Barry Sanders, or there's not
Right.
a cornerback that's a Deion Sanders. There's no Lawrence Taylor. There's no Reggie White. Like okay, T.J. Watt. But I'm just saying like there's way more superstars in the NBA for one.
Right. Right.
Every team has talent. There's skill on every team. Even the bad teams got a Cam Thomas or a Cade Cunningham or
Hmm.
I could go on. There's so many different talented teams. So you're watching two bad teams playing the NBA. They're still players to watch
Right. Like for
and
example, if
entertaining.
I could turn on the Portland Washington Wizards game and I could be entertained. Those are two of the worst teams in the league. You know, so I do agree with that from that aspect.
Right.
Because if
And
I
if
turn
you
on a
watch a
Panthers
bad
game,
football game, if you watch
yeah,
a bad football teams, I'm gonna fall asleep.
right,
There's only a couple superstars in the NFL, really. If there wasn't, my whole rant was really because if the NFL didn't have fantasy football and it didn't have gambling, it would be even more boring because
right,
there's no superstars. The games are 80% of them are trash. There's no there's okay. You got Patrick Mahomes, you got Josh Allen, you got what Justin Jefferson, um, who
uh,
Tyreek Hill. Like
yeah,
there's like on your hand you can name like five superstars In the NBA, there's like 30,
30,
like
40.
there's like 25, 20 superstars. Yeah, that you'd be entertained to watch. In the NFL, you got bad offensive line play. There's no Ray Lewis out there. There's no Ed Reed. Like the defense is barely. The rules have changed so much that the defense is barely even effective anymore. It's hard to
Right.
have a great defense. Like you
Because
know
you
how
can't
they
touch
call
people.
Micah Parsons he's the new Lawrence Taylor.
Yep.
Bro, the Dallas defense is never
It's
even been that,
terrible.
like it's not even that elite. Because the great players on defense can only have so much effect because they make the offense for the rules and everything. They make the offense way more rules for them. And then the refs get in the way of the games. There's penalties every other play. The offensive lines are bad. The QB plays bad.
Right.
So I'm just ranting, but I just think that people complain about the NBA and they say, oh, they shoot too many threes or stuff like that. It's like, so you're mad because people are skilled now. The players are
Right.
more skilled than they were before. I can't say that about the NFL. And this is the biggest reason why the NBA gets a bad rap. It's because the NBA media, they don't pump up the league enough. They don't pump up the stars enough.
Right.
They're
They do
always
the
trying to
opposite.
trash
They
stars.
tear them
They're
down.
always
Right.
trying to trash. They tear them. The NBA is about tearing them down. Guess what they do in the NFL? Because this is another thing about the NFL. The NFL has way more injuries,
Yep.
but they'll complain about the NBA and say superstars sit out. Who? Who sits out with no injuries? What,
I mean,
Kawhi?
besides like Kawhi,
That's like one dude. One dude.
the
Like
Spurs
who
usually do
else?
it when their
But in
players
the
are older,
NFL, you
though.
barely will ever see your player you like. You'll barely ever see that guy. If he probably be hurt half the season in the
Yep.
NFL. I watch the NFL every Sunday, man.
And
You
somebody's
can't pull
always
the
hurt.
wool over my
I do
eyes.
too. Somebody's always hurt on a Sunday. We just lost Chris Olave to another concussion this
Yeah.
week. Like somebody, yeah, and then there's just injuries.
And then the
There's a ton of
season's
injuries
over.
every
Once
week.
once your star player gets hurt, which is bound to happen, their season's over. They're not
Yep.
even fun to watch no more. What I'm gonna watch Mason Rudolph or like a backup quarterback play? Like I don't want to do that. I'd rather watch Cade Cunningham and Cam Thomas hoop. I don't know. I guess me mad because just because you don't like the NBA or you don't like basketball, just keep that shit to yourself and keep pumping up the football. Like that's the thing I was saying. The media on the NFL, they'll never say, "Oh, football sucks." They'll never say football's not fun. Like they don't down and trash their own league. The NBA media needs to stop doing that. And then that's why people run with narratives because they don't watch the games. Like a casual fan, they don't watch the games, but they hear the narrative, and that's the first thing that they run and say is the narrative that they hear, which is, oh, it's too much like skill in the game, or the teams are too smart. I've even heard the teams are too smart now to
Yeah,
ruin in
that's
the game
crazy.
because they're doing things like what the NFL has gotten dumber. The teams are more stupid.
Yep.
Nobody's as smart as Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were in the league right now. The defenses aren't as smart in the NFL as they were back like in the Ed Reed, Ray Lewis days, and the Warren Sapp days. Like they're not as good as they were. The NBA actually it's more elite. The
Right.
defense is actually the individual defense. Do you know how hard it is to like
Stay in front of
defend
somebody
out in space?
now.
In
It's crazy.
space.
It's crazy.
Yeah, in the 80s and the 90s, there was no space. It was easy. You didn't barely had to slide your feet. Now you have to actually move your fucking feet
Yeah, you had guys
to
like
play
Tree
defense. It's
Rollins
way harder to
playing
play
heavy
defense.
minutes.
So the players that are good on defense, go ahead, bro.
Now, I'm about to say you had guys like Tree Rollins playing a bunch of minutes back in the day, and now a guy like Tree Rollins wouldn't be able to survive in
Yeah,
today's NBA. So it's like, yeah, I
George
get,
Mirasan, Sean
yeah,
Bradley,
like those type
like
of guys.
even the guards and shit. If you look at back in the day, a lot of the guards weren't even that good on, couldn't stay in front of people and shit. But they always had a center that was sitting right there. And
Yep.
so I get that people want like more mid-range shots, more like, but that's just nostalgia in the head. You trust me, you don't want to see Harold Miner and these dudes, bro. You don't want like back in the day, the elite players, a lot of them wouldn't even be elite right now.
That's
Like
true.
I'm just
They
gonna
be
keep
they
it a
be role
buck, and I'm a
players.
fan of all. Yeah, a lot of them will be role players. Like I'm not even gonna name any names, but the skill has gotten way better. But if you put Barry Sanders or you put Tom Brady or you put Ben Roethlisberger or Joe Montana or Steve Young, any of those dudes right now, they would still kill it in the league.
Yep.
And they're running out of stars in the NFL. There's not that many, honestly. Like you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Josh Allen, who else? Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
So what? You got three. You got three. How many do you really got?
Yeah,
So that was
that's
a
pretty much
long
it.
ass rant.
That's pretty much it, to be
That was
honest.
a long ass rant, but I just get because people get on my nerves because they're just sitting there hating on the NBA, and sometimes it's the NBA folks too that are saying it too, and I don't get that. Like, why are you bringing down your league when it's the most skilled that it's ever been, and the players are better than they ever have been, and the teams are smarter than they ever have been. So, all right, let's move on because that was a
Yes,
long
sir.
ass
No,
rant.
no. It's a fair rant though because I also watch the NFL every Sunday, and it's like as soon as the NBA season started, I hop straight on NBA because it's more exciting. Like I said, I can go turn on a Portland Wizards game and be fairly entertained. I go turn on a Detroit game and be entertained, like you said. I can go turn on a Raptors game and I'm watching. I'm still
Right,
watching R.J. Barrett. I'm still watching. Well, Scotty Barnes hurt right now, but I like the young pieces they have on the team. They're on the team, like a guy like Jamal Shed. He's fun to watch. Grady Dick, he's been great.
right. And
So
on Sundays, I turn the games on, and I'm watching, and literally every single game is a blowout.
yep,
Up, like once the game becomes like a 2, 3 touchdown game, it's
it's over
unwatchable
with.
now. It's over. I'm done hating on the NFL because I actually like the NFL,
I like right.
but
I
it
do
just
too.
pisses me off that people want to hate on the NBA. Like, shut the fuck up. If you don't like basketball, just say that. All right, let's move on. This is a touchy subject too because I know how you feel about Paulo and how I
Yeah, my
feel about
boy.
Paulo,
Yeah.
and I think he's going to be future top 5 player in the NBA. So, and he was on his way becoming like a top 10 player to a top 15 player this year. The way he was playing, so to get the torn, what do you get, a torn pec or oblique
The torn
or
oblique,
something?
yeah.
Damn, bro, that's crushing. So why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, honestly, and the Magic haven't looked too good ever since he got hurt. To be honest, it's just that team desperately needs Paulo. Like that goes back to the conversation we had on the last pod between the Chet and Paulo argument is like they just need creation, and they just don't have that right now outside of Franz, who's in my opinion more like a second, third option right now. He can't really lead a team, and the rest of the team is that team is just really built around Paulo. So without him, it just doesn't work. Yeah, so they're gonna miss him.
Yeah, no, but it's rough to watch them too. Like I was trying to, who they play last night?
They play
Uh,
OKC.
yeah, okay. See, it was just like I knew it was gonna be they were gonna smoke them because no Paulo. And it's funny because on the internet, like I saw like Magic fans saying that, like was just joking, saying, "Look, everybody," because people were saying that Paulo's on and off numbers, right? Were
It
saying
was
that his
really
on and off numbers weren't that good, and people are saying, look, well, everybody, we're better without Paulo," like being sarcastic. And I was just laughing because it made me think about Jaylen because Jaylen Brown. Everybody said that for years about Jaylen Brown, that his on-off numbers weren't good, and it just so happens that when you have to stagger with a top 5 player or you stagger with another, like if say they put Paulo with a bunch of his
bums.
bench players, and then
Yeah,
yeah, he's playing with all bench players, and then he, you know, or like it's crazy how people just look at numbers without context, and they're just like,
right.
yeah. But I feel bad for Paulo, man, because I think that he's going to be one of the greats in the league. So hopefully he gets healthy, and hopefully he gets back this year. But I don't want him to rush it if it's going to like affect his game.
Bleak probably gonna take time. Probably like we probably won't see him till like mid January. Cause
Maybe even after that, but I
yeah,
wouldn't rush it. But
because Shaden Sharp actually had a similar I think he had a similar injury last year and he ended up missing the entire year. I think that was more so because Portland was trying to tank, but it probably is it's gonna take a minute for him to come back. Orlando might be. I'm not sure how Orlando will fare without him. We'll see how that
I
goes
don't.
though.
I don't. They were in a slide, but hopefully he gets back in time for them to. I mean, their defense is going to be good, and Suggs has looked great this
Yeah,
year. Suggs looks like he's
Suggs.
the next
Yeah, he
defensive
looks
guard,
good.
like after Drew Holiday or Derek White. Like he looks like maybe when he hits his prime, he's going to be one of those type of players. He already is getting there. So I really like Suggs, but let's move on to a better subject, a more happy subject for Bari. Um, Lamelo. I saw your tweet. You said when he's healthy, he's what, a borderline top 10 player. And I said slow down, but I love Melo's game though, and we've already talked about that. So I want you to explain your tweet though.
Okay, yeah. So basically, what I was saying is when Lamelo's healthy, I think he's around like a borderline top 10. So anywhere from that top like 11 to like 17, 18 range. I think he's around there when he is healthy. Just because I think he's one of the best runners of an offense in the league. And if you put like a competent team around him, he could definitely lead you to a top 10 top five offense if you put build actual pieces around. I mean, he's average. I mean, I'm not sure what his
Right.
splits were, but the last time I checked before
The
the
pieces
Timberwolves game,
around them are good.
yeah, they're cool, but like they need a center because Nick Richards is missing right now in the Timberwolves game. He wasn't really that good in that game, but that's a really good defense. That was the first time that defense actually like that was the first time that defense actually looked like how it did last year to me. The Timberwolves. So I mean, yeah, they made
Right.
Lamelo have a bad game. Brandon Miller had a bad game. So yeah, they just need more pieces around him. I think, but if you were to build around
Yeah,
him,
it's
he can
bad.
definitely be in those talks, especially with the splits he's putting up right now. But he also needs to stay healthy in order to really get in these talks for real,
Yeah,
for real.
him
But
and Brandon Miller both need to stay healthy.
yes,
But I like their team. Like, you know how I feel about Brandon Miller. I'm higher on
hmm
Brandon Miller than you, but then you're a little bit higher than on Lamelo than me, even though I love Lamelo's game. His defense is a little. I mean, it's pretty suspect, and then he fouls a lot. If he tries to play defense, if he's on somebody real tough, that's a good player. Or if he gets a switch onto a good player, he's probably going to either foul him or he's going to give up a basket. So like, and I want to see him in the playoffs because maybe in the playoffs he like locks up a little bit better and plays a little bit because that's just how it is. And I do like that Charles Lee is his coach because I think I can even see this year that Melo's taking the game a little bit more serious, and I think that
right,
has a
right,
little bit to do with Charles Lee. Just as far as like winning, because he always goes out there to entertain, which is what I love about Melo. Because at the end of the day, it is entertainment too, and he
hmm
goes out there and he shakes and bakes, and he lets his shots go 1 foot 3 pointers. I mean, he's doing crazy shit, and I love watching him. Not just the highlights, I love watching him even on the misses because he's just fun to watch.
right,
He plays ball like when you're a kid and you think about how you want to play basketball, and you're not thinking about all the winning and all the little things that go with it. He plays like that, and he can also do the little things like you said, and he can run an offense. And I had people talking to me on Twitter because he gets compared to Ant-Man, obviously,
because the same
and
draft class.
same draft class, and so I'm like, but I'm telling people because there's people telling me, that LaMelo is better than Ant, and I'm saying, well, is it too much to ask to get 82 games and the playoffs out of LaMelo? And people
Nah,
are saying, well, look at his team. This is like a good rebuttal, I would say, but I'm not sure. But they say, well, what if LaMelo was on the Timberwolves and Ant-Man was on the Hornets? How would people feel? I still think Ant-Man would be dominant no matter what.
right.
But what do you think about that? Like, if LaMelo, say, just forget Ant-Man for a second. Uh, if you put LaMelo on the Timberwolves, do you
hmm
think they would be about as good?
I think the offense would maybe be slightly better. I think that I mean it would because there's a lot of
Yeah,
trade offs because Ant is a better he's a big part of that defense as well. So if you take him off of that
right.
defense, I mean they do have other defenders on the roster. But I mean actually if you put Nikhil and Jaden in next to Lamelo and you have Mike Conley come out the bench, I mean maybe that could work. But I just
He
think that
might could. Yeah,
now
he
what were you
could
gonna say
give
about
up
that?
some of the defense and make the offense a little better, but
hmm
Ant Man's leadership, I think, also brings a lot. I think Melo has a lot to be desired when it comes to that, compared
Right.
to Ant Man, especially.
And it took
And so I
and
think that makes a big difference.
yeah, it took Ant a minute to get in there. I mean, he had the personality always, but like to be able to actually galvanize and lead a
Right.
team, it took him like a year or two. So yeah, I do agree with you on
Oh
that
yeah, because
aspect.
that's just him getting his IQ up
Right.
to the point where, because you're not going to listen to somebody who's like a little who's a kid and don't
hmm
know. And so he had to get his IQ up and see some things. So now he could talk his shit and people will listen. But
hmm
my thing is like Ant Man, you could tell he wants to win right
Right.
now.
Right.
Right now, he wants to win every single game right now. I don't get that vibe from Lamelo. Like, even though I have seen more of that this season with Charles Lee.
I do agree with that. I mean, yeah, because I think sometimes he doesn't value possessions. Right, and that's a big thing
Right.
that I
That's what I
that
mean.
right.
On both ends.
Right.
Sometimes he
Right.
doesn't value every possession.
That's just coming with learning how to win, and I don't think he's in a winning environment. And had the opportunity to kind of
Right.
get into a winning environment, and they also traded for Rudy. And like in his second year in the league, they were in the playoffs. I mean Lamelo was also in the playoffs in his I think second or third year they made the playoffs. They had a pretty decent
That
team,
when
so we
he
do
was
have
All
a
Star
little
that year.
evidence of yeah. So we do have a little evidence of him being able to play some winning basketball. But like you said, we probably need to see more because of the past 2 years he's been hurt on and off for the most part. So yeah, I can't agree with that. I can agree with that from
So
that aspect.
so what you would say, like he's probably when healthy, I would say he's like closer to 20 than 10. I would say he's
Yeah,
probably
I
like
agree. Yeah,
20,
that's cool. That's cool.
20ish.
hmm
But if he keeps playing like this, he's gonna rise. Especially if he like starts valuing possessions on both ends a little more.
Hmm.
And I think that Brandon Miller is gonna be like a big help too if he could stay healthy. So I like their team. I love watching them. He's definitely top five when it comes to entertainment. He might be the
Right.
most entertaining, honestly. So like
I think
he's
yeah,
very entertaining right now.
I love his game. I love his game.
So yeah. So anyways, that was the Lamelo talk. I had to get that off because like mad people's coming at you on Twitter too, and
Yeah.
like I get that because when you watch ball as much as we do, and you see like a basketball genius like Lamelo that does things
Hmm.
just differently. Like that's kind of how I felt about Jason Kidd or Steve Nash or just like dude like even Jokic, like certain dudes that are passers that are just incredible like that and can just make shit happen. I love players like that. Steph Curry, I mean, he's like he's in that realm. I wish that he would have honestly Lamelo if he went to the Warriors, we might be having
Man.
a whole different convo. So but I hope that Charles Lee, like I predicted at the beginning of the season, stays on him, and he's always up, clapping, yelling anytime they get a
Yep.
stop. I love watching Charles Lee coach. So next thing, Antman. Since we went from
Yes,
Lamelo, now we're gonna
sir.
go to Antman because he's taking a 3 point leap. He's like the
Hmm.
Michael Jordan of Steph Curry's right now. So
Hmm.
why don't you talk about that? Because that's your guy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's just I kind of I'm
Like, is
not
it
sure if
right?
I'm
Is
not
he
sure if
doing
you
the right
tweeted.
thing?
Oh, I think so because I've always thought that he was this level of shooter. He just hadn't shown it yet consistently. And honestly, some of his rise as a shooter has just come from the fact that he can really actually get off the ball. Like he doesn't have the ball have the ball in his hand all the time with the
Yeah.
Dante addition.
As Randall,
Nikhil, he's been
talk about that.
with the Randall addition, with Nikhil's become a better passer in some ways. Mike Conley's still a good passer. They just have more playmaking. Like Rudy's not a bad passer. They just have more playmaking across the roster, so it's allowing him to get off ball, and he's able to shoot more catch and shoots, which he's always been elite at, right? So then
Right.
also I just think that he's just become a better pull up 3 point shooter. And like I said, I've always thought he can be an
Definitely.
elite 3 point shooter. So I think right now he's just kind of in the T Wolves do need him to shoot these threes because with Cat leaving, you know, he had to make up for some of that spacing. And Nas has also been taking more threes. Randall has been shooting pretty good from three. You know, Dante is also another spacer. So I just think that he's just trying this out right now. But I think when he does get the perfect blend between being one of the best drivers in the league and being one of the best shooters in the league, he's gonna become one of the. I mean, he's already kind of making that step in my opinion. And I also like that
Mm-hmm.
he's been his playmaking. He's not really getting the assists right now, but I'm not. I'd have to look, but like the could have
Hockey
been assists have
assists,
probably
he's been
been
getting,
pretty good. Yeah, or the assist that like, and a
which
lot
is
of guys have
I'm
been
even
missing out
more
on passes.
encouraged by hockey assists from Ant.
Yep, yep, yeah. I just like the way that he's just developed as a playmaker, and he's even been more active on the glass. So I think he's taking a leap, in my opinion. I would just like to see him
So
drive a little more, but I think that'll come in the playoffs. To be honest, I think he may be saving
yeah,
himself.
and so I think that these are like the reasons why Ant Man's shooting so many threes. It's a couple reasons. One, he was at Team USA with Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, and they were probably shooting
Right, right.
wild 3 pointers in
I was
practice.
I, I was gonna say,
And he even
yeah,
said that about.
I
Go
think
ahead,
I
bro.
tweeted about that during the summer because I was pretty much like you know I was like I was messing around, but I was like yes, Ant gonna go to Team USA and learn how to learn that off ball moving from Steph, and then he came into camp right before camp. He was like, yeah, man. I was just watching
Yeah,
Steph
he's been
all the
watching him.
time to see how he operated off the ball. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay. So
and
yeah,
it
well, now I continue
shows.
my
And
fault.
so that's one reason.
It really does.
And then my other reason is he's got to preserve his body because he ran out of gas.
Yep.
And so the
Right in the
best way to
playoffs.
preserve his
Yep.
body is to shoot threes and not drive as much, even though that we all would like to see Ant-Man flying and trying to poster everybody. If he can shoot 40% from three and kind of preserve his body for
Hmm.
the playoffs when he's really going to need to play defense, especially if he has to guard Luca, because we were talking about this, J-Mac, Jaden McDaniels, I don't think he can guard Luca. So I think Ant-Man's the
Nah,
only good option for
he
Luca.
he'd be better on Kyrie. He'd be better on Kyrie in my opinion.
Yes, exactly. And Ant Man really can't guard Kyrie, so they need to. And I think that Ant Man might be a little bit like uh not embarrassed, but he don't want to get embarrassed by Luca, so that's why he don't take that challenge.
Hmm.
But I think that he could, and he could do like a similar job to Jaylen if he got in the best shape of his life and started picking Luca up 94 feet and wearing his ass out instead of him being
Yep.
tired. And a good way to do that is by preserving himself during the season. And then I think the top thing really is what we talked about, which is that Ant Man told Julius Randle, "You don't have to fit with us. We're going to fit around you."
We're
And
gonna fit
that's exactly
around
what
you.
they've been
Yep.
doing. They've been letting Randall do what he does best, which is bully ball, play make. And so the
Hmm.
best way for Ant-Man to fit around Julius Randle is by shooting off of him. You know, and I
Right.
think they'll obviously figure it out. And Ant-Man is super explosive. He didn't lose a step. When he does go to the basket,
No, it's
shit
still there.
still works. Yeah, so that was a good talk on that because I think this is important for like going into the playoffs. That we're recognizing that way he's playing right now, he probably shouldn't play like that really in the playoffs. But if he can shoot better percentage from three, all it's going to do is bring his scoring average up, which it has, and it's
Hmm.
going to give his teammates more space to work. So I think he's doing the right thing, but just don't settle too much. Like that's the thing of what I get with Tatum too, like where Tatum settles too much because he can shoot the three.
Hmm.
So and he knows he can get it off versus anyone. So especially if we're up like 10 or 20 points, and he feels like he can, or if it's, I have a thing where if he gets shoots for over 50% Tatum for like a long time, he'll just start taking shots because he can. Because he's like, oh, I'm over fifty
Right.
percent, I could jack up a couple. And it's like, bruh, stop doing that. But it's fucking up your percentages. That's how I'm looking at it. But at the same time, I know that we're up
It's
20,
like,
we're up
hey,
15 points, and he's just like, fuck it. And so, but
right.
I kind of get bad because I know that he could literally bully people. Like against the Hawks last night, he was bullying them, and then next thing you
Hmm.
know, he's just jacking up mad threes. I'm like, because he hit a couple threes, and now it's like he thinks that he's Ray Allen. It's like, dog,
Right.
you were just bullying them, and then you just stopped because we got up points, and it's like, I don't know. It's one of my selfish things where I just want Tatum to just go a whole 48 minutes and just bully people the whole time. So I'm I'm waiting for him to do that, but I mean, Tatum looks amazing this season. So, anyways, Ant-Man looks
No, he
great
does.
too,
He does.
and I
But
think that it's I
but one
think
thing,
AD. I think go ahead.
one more thing I will add about Ant, a very recent development, especially in the last two games, he's throwing lobs now, and like it doesn't sound that crazy, but if you really if you understand like how Ant
Oh, he
was as a
hasn't been
development story, he hasn't been able to throw lobs. He's been throwing two to Rudy in the past two games, so I do like that development. But my fault, I ain't mean to cut you off. You continue.
right.
I just want to add that.
And the hockey assist thing I like from him too because I feel like
Yes.
that's a big deal as far as just with the team thing. You're not always going to get the assist, bro. But if you're going to get hockey assists,
Hmm.
that makes your team so much better. And I've just seen a lot of things I like at Ant this season, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Um,
Same
but
here.
let's talk about the Warriors because I'm also like super impressed with the Warriors. They're 6-1. They got one of the best defenses in the league. Draymond's moving around great.
Hmm.
Wiggins looks like kind of like how he did that championship year. I think the Warriors are kind of a sleeper, man. I really do think that they are a sleeper, and
Yep.
I do think that it's possible, especially if Buddy Hield's going to keep playing the way he is. He doesn't even have to shoot 50% from three the whole season, but
Right. To
just
just right.
come off the bench and just letting it fly. And he plays like a Walmart version of Steph Curry, where like he's just like he passes, then relocates. He knows like he's perfect for the system, on offense at least. And Kaminga, I know you want to talk about Kaminga, but Kaminga's look good. And
Hmm.
I was just got to walk back my statements about the Warriors because I said that they were a lottery team without Steph, and they done nothing but prove me wrong every single game. So now I got to say I was wrong, and I think that the Warriors are for real because if they can play without Steph and still get dubs, still get
Hmm.
W's, then come on, man, that's saying a lot. And they're gonna play the Celtics tomorrow. The Steve Kerr come to Boston game, and I'm nervous about that game because the Celtics
Hmm.
aren't whole. They're not healthy.
Right.
Jalen has a hip flexor, and Porzingis is out. And they're gonna double team Tatum, and they're not gonna let him go crazy.
Right.
So, like, it's going to be a tough ass game. I say all that to say this is the first game I've been nervous for the Celtics the whole season, and if that's saying a lot about the Warriors. So talk about your team.
Yeah, man. The Warriors have. I mean, we haven't really played anybody yet outside of the Rockets game, which is pretty impressive in my opinion. I mean, I wouldn't say we haven't played anybody because, like
I
we
watched
said,
that game.
there's talent. There's talent all across the league. Even the bad teams have some talent. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we haven't played like like I would say a playoff team or like a good playoff team so far, in my opinion. But we do have a good record. I just like me and my. I don't really care about the teams we played, I just like the way the teams look. We look younger, we look faster, and the defense
Right.
looks better. Right. So and then the team just looks
Yeah.
more connected. Everybody's like
They don't look
smiling on the
slow. Yeah.
sidelines. Everybody's happy. Like it's just more chemistry. Last year the team just didn't feel like this. This feels like an actual team. And honestly, I think we got to see how Steph looks because the way I kind of see it, I think they're just letting it like Steph is just letting the team go, and he's just because he's 36 going on 37, and like I think I said this on the last pod, he's 6'3" as a one. You know, that's a lot of toll on the body. So I think honestly, he's
You
just
don't see
conserving
that in
himself.
history.
Right, right. He's a one of one when it comes to that. But yeah. So basically, I think he's just chilling right now, to be honest, and he's just letting the team work for him because just him being on the
And he's
court,
got to
that's
be happy that they're actually good when he's not playing. I mean, he's
right
probably
because
fucking ecstatic.
right just him being on the court last night was a bonus, in my opinion. So it's
Right.
like
And he
if
didn't
we're
even seem
feeling
like
like
he was.
yeah, he was just doing his thing. He was just running like he wasn't really doing too much. He was just out there,
Easing
honestly.
himself in.
Yeah. So I just like the way the
And
team
that's
look from
great. I
that
mean, that's
aspect.
great news for the Warriors because you know he could go off at any moment. So
Right.
that's awesome. And
You're getting
like
production from
shit,
everywhere.
they
From
look
everywhere.
like the West is deep. The West is deep. The West is good, but like at the top, the West is not that. I mean, I think OKC is a scary ass team. But other than
Mm-hmm.
that, like I think I could see right now, I could visually see the Warriors as constructed, like beating any of those other teams in 7 games, especially Steph
Mm-hmm.
Curry. Is Steph Curry in those series? And Draymond looks good, man. I mean, he's even hitting
Draymond does
shots. I
look
don't know
good.
what I haven't
Oh
looked
yeah.
at his
Oh,
percentages, but every time
to
I
be
look at him, he's hitting shots. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
And
to be
he's
honest,
hitting.
yeah, I think that was just built up confidence from last year. And last year, pretty much before the season, he was saying that during the KD, Clay, and Steph years, he was like he kind of lost confidence in the shots because those are three of the greatest shooters of all time. And it's like at that point, why am I shooting the ball? And he came into that offseason, he said, you know what, I'm gonna get back into it, and I'm gonna get my shot back. And the past 2 years, I mean, we got almost a full year sample, and coming into this year of him being like a 30,
Yeah,
38, 39% 3-point
that's
shooter.
perfect
So,
for him. That's perfect for him. That's like peak Draymond. If he's hitting that shot, that's
hmm
peak Draymond, which is like old school Draymond, where
and
he could
like you,
hit that shot sometime.
yeah, and like you said, I like the way that Wiggins looks, and I also really I love
And
our wing
Tracy
rotation.
Jackson
Trace,
Davis,
yeah, Trace,
that's his
Trace
name,
looks,
right?
yeah, Trace
He's
Jackson
running the
Davis, yeah,
floor.
yeah, he
He
looks
gives y'all
good.
more athleticism.
Yeah, but
Um,
he's a good
so
defender. He can switch a little bit. Looney looks better. He can also switch. Kaminga and Wiggins, the
Looney looks
tandem
like
of
he
those
lost a
two.
little weight.
Yeah, Kaminga and Wiggins, the tandem of those two. Just when Wiggins comes out, Kaminga comes in, and he's just. I mean, I think Kaminga is probably a low key a better offensive player than Wiggins right now. And as far as just being able to
Yep.
get downhill and being able to create consistently, I think Wiggins is a better shot maker, in my opinion. But just actually like creating and kind of bending the defense and things like that, I think Kaminga's a little better. I like him as a passer. He's improved a bit
Yeah.
there. And I
And I
like him as
talked
a
bad about
rebounder.
Kaminga last.
I mean,
I
I mean
talked
that's
bad about
but
Kaminga last
that
podcast because I said
that's
that he
fair.
didn't look good,
That's fair. He had the first two
but
games,
he
the
has
first
to
two
look
three
good
games, he
since
didn't look
then.
good.
Really, since they put him
Yes.
on the bench.
Yep. Yes.
So maybe that was the wake up call he needed too. Maybe that was good coaching. I thought that was bad coaching when he put him on the bench. I'm like, oh, it's over, man. He's about to get traded. And ever since then, he's been cooking. So I'm wrong. And I can admit when I'm wrong. One thing about ball up top, that's why we call it ball up top. Because when you just go, yo, ball up top, start again. We running it
Yeah,
back.
you can score
Listen,
it. You
I
can
can have
score it all.
bad
You got
takes
to get it
sometimes.
back, man.
I'm right most of the time. Yeah, I'm right most of the time. So that's why I have no problem saying when I'm wrong. Let's talk about the Rockets since we just talked about the Warriors Rockets game.
Yes,
Like
sir.
I'm not that impressed with the Rockets with the core that they have. Everybody was saying they have the most young talent in the NBA all summer, and they've been saying that for a couple summers.
hmm
And I like fall into that line of believing and buying into the hype before the season. And even I bought into the Reed Shepard hype, but he's obviously doesn't fit well because Fred
Slow
VanVleet,
starter.
who's
Slow
been playing
start.
terrible, is in his way. And then
Right.
the only player that Amen Thompson has looked really good to me, especially on defense. He's
Oh
incredible on
yeah, and
defense.
Tari
But
Eason, he's looked good as well.
and Tari Eason has been one of the better players in the whole league
Yep.
this year so far. So that's crazy. And I think Ime just is gonna play who's his best chance to win, and that's why Tari Eason's getting all this burn
Mm-hmm.
over all these higher touted prospects because his offense has gone a lot better this year, at least so far in these
Mm-hmm.
small amount of games. My whole point about the Rockets is, and I tweeted about this, for the most talent in the league, they don't have any game changers.
Mm-hmm.
And like they have to, Ime has had to sit Sengun. Even Sengun last night had a good game. against the Knicks. But guess what?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't out there in overtime. He was not out there at the end of the fourth quarter. So
Mm-hmm.
Ime must hate his defense because he's their best offensive player. And then Jalen Green, I know that Ime don't like his defense, and he just has to play him. But I don't know, man. And they have so many dudes that I like a Man Thompson or even Cam Whitmore, who I'm high on, like in his future. And I'm even high on Reed Shepard. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. How do you feel about Sengun and like Jabari Smith Jr. and just like they don't have any game changers, and I just think that they're gonna they're gonna consolidate and make a trade. Maybe for Giannis, maybe for somebody. I just see that because like they have a lot of good dudes, but they just have guys that are like a bunch of like third best players on a championship team, maybe
Mm-hmm.
at best. So like
All
if
right.
you have
All
like
right.
six guys that could possibly be the third best player on a championship team, that's cool. But what are you
Right.
really doing with that? So, and I can already tell that Udoka wants to win, and he only plays. He's not in it to play because if he was trying to develop, then he'd be playing Reed Shepard and Emma Thompson like the
Mm-hmm.
whole game. So obviously he wants to win. And what do you talk about them? What do you
So
think about
basically,
Sangoon?
because my thing with Sengun, especially because a lot of people have the Rockets making the play in, making the playoffs, things like that. So, I mean, I mean, the plan isn't too crazy, but my thing is, I mean, Sengun is probably like a bottom five first option in the West, if we're being honest. You know, just it's
Right.
not that it's not necessarily that he's not talented. It's just the way that the West is set up that you know,
And
the
that
10 seed
meme
is
that
like
we
the
saw that I sent
Pelicans.
you, that meme
Oh
or
yeah,
not
yeah,
the
yeah,
meme, the
yeah.
tweet that I
Oh yeah, the
saw, it was
Killian
like
Hayes,
Jokic
James
comps
Harden one.
versus
Yeah.
yeah. It's like the Jokic Sangoon Jokic comps, and it was James Harden taking a
Hmm.
step back and then Killian Hayes taking a step back,
Yeah, that was
and they
pretty
kept
funny.
showing it back and forth. And I'm dying, bro, because I started laughing because I'm thinking, yeah, Sengun, man, he's not Jokic, bro. I don't know why people are gassing this guy, like, and he can't even be out there to close the games. I
Hmm.
do think that he's a great offensive player, but he has weaknesses that even Jokic used to have and had to figure out. And he's not nearly as talented as Jokic is.
Right.
So, and then Jabari Smith Jr., I don't know. He's just out there most of the time, and his defense isn't even as elite as it was supposed to be
Right. I
coming
mean,
out of college. Like, it's pretty good, but
like you said, Ime's not closing with Sengun, and honestly, like Sengun does bring offense, but like I don't think his offense is great enough to supplant how his defense can sometimes impact the team, especially with how Ime likes to run his teams. Especially like in Boston, he likes switchable guys that can switch pretty much 1 through 4. They can
yeah.
switch every position. They can switch pick
And
and
he's a
rolls.
defensive minded
He's the
coach.
defensive minded coach, so a guy like Sengun, and that's why I'm not Jalen Green. He has improved on defense. I will give him that, but I'm not sure if he's made the leap yet as a consistent offensive player. So we'll have to wait and see with him. And I think Amin and Tari together, those two just cause the most chaos defensively, and I think that's why he likes to close with them so much because of how good their defense is. They can be game changers on the defensive end for sure. So I do like that. I do like that. I mean, Fred had a good game last game, but he hasn't really been good that season. And like you said with the Reed Shepard piece, he hasn't really played him too much. He's you know, last game he took his shots. He turned down some shots in some other games, but I did like how he looked last game. Dylan Brooks, he's been
Yeah.
okay,
And
especially
if
he's been good
Reed
defensively.
Shepard is turning down shots, it's because he's afraid of Ime.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you one thing about Ime. He hates young players. He did not play Neesmith after Brad Stevens played Neesmith like his whole rookie season. Ime did not want Neesmith on the court
Hmm.
when he was on the Celtics. And then he hasn't really played. He has all these young dudes on the Rockets, but he's not interested in develop them. And that's why and he loves Amen Thompson. Why? He's an elite
Yeah,
on
great
defense.
defense. Great on defense.
Yeah, and so if you're elite on defense, you will be on Ime's good side. And that's why Dylan Brooks, he loves Dylan Brooks too,
Hmm.
And even Fred VanVleet is a defender. So like I think that they're gonna make a trade. I don't know if it's gonna be like at the trade deadline or the summer, but it's coming. Let's talk about the Cavs
Hmm.
again. We talked about them last time, but I want to talk about them again because Mitchell and Garland are going crazy right now, especially Garland, your boy. So this is definitely one subject that you need to tap into. But they're staggering Garland with Mitchell. They have Evan Mobley's with Garland, and then they have Mitchell with Jared Allen, and it's perfect. Both of those duos have chemistry together, and then so it's 48 minutes of straight lob threats, and then
Right.
basically good offense because you have lob threat, and then you have the shot creators. I mean, like I was saying last pod that they have the perfect 82 game offense because they
Hmm.
can take the load off each other. So like Mitchell doesn't have to do too much. Garland, if they could get it right, and it seems like they've gotten it right. And Mobley's taken a leap. I've been sending you clips of Mobley, and he just looks more confident. He's dribbling, like his
Yep.
handle looks a little stronger. He's moving a little better. He's even shooting a little better. Like everything, I think he's taken a leap. Like the leap that we were waiting for maybe 2 years ago, or we
Hmm.
wanted to come like a year or two ago. But it's just like it's just a slower. He's just making a gradual leap, but it really I can tell. And Jared Allen's probably one of the most underrated players in the entire NBA, honestly. And he could go
Yep.
to pretty much any team and be start center. Uh, at least besides like Jokic and Embiid, the top. He's a top, close to top five center, I would have to say. What do you think? You think he's a top five center? He's right up
Yeah,
there.
I mean, yeah, I think he probably is around that top five. I mean, I think him and Rudy are pretty comparable.
Maybe
So whichever one
six.
of those two you want to take.
Yeah, that's a tough question, but I'd probably take Rudy. But it's not with his contract. I'd probably take Jared Allen.
Right, and I think Allen's a way better offensive player. So I mean, it just really depends on how you feel
Right.
about those two. I mean, you trade off some defense for some offense, or some offense for some defense. You can really exchange those two, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I do like Allen's game a lot because he just makes it easier for the guards because like Mitchell and Garland because like he can catch, he can finish with his left hand, he can finish with the right hand. He has some left hand floater
Yeah.
stuff. He has some right hand floater stuff. Like he's just a
Hook
really
shots.
skilled
Yeah.
around the rim. Yep. So yeah, I love Allen's game.
He's
I
got
do.
super soft touch. I love Jared
Yep.
Allen's game. But I want you to talk about the fourth quarters and Darius Garland taking over because
Yeah,
it's always
Garland. Yeah,
been Mitchell.
yeah, Garland. Yeah. I think Mitchell's just finally. I think I said this in the last pod. But Mitchell's just finally allowing the other guys to actually like do stuff and shine. I can't just credit Mitchell solely. I think Kenny Atkinson just also just preached, just letting those guys get involved and taking some of the load off of Mitchell. So I think Garland, especially coming off last year, where he had a broken jaw, like he had a broken jaw before he got injured in the Celtics game, he was actually really good. So just coming back into this season, being like fully healthy, having a full training camp with a new coaching staff, and they're actually like running more sets and stuff, more motion stuff to actually get the two guards involved with each other when they are in the game, and they're also running stuff that gets Mobley and Jared Allen involved. It's just better all around offense instead of Mitchell just being the sole primary facilitator and those guys just kind of standing around watching him for most of the game. So I think that's why their offense looks better, and I think just with the defense, it just looks more connected. I mean, they've always been a good defense, but it just looks more connected now. Like you said, Mobley looks better, just putting the ball on the ground, and he's more confident in his 3 pointer ever since he came back last year. He's been pretty. I think he's been like 35% from three since he came back from the injury last year. So, yeah, I just like what I've seen
Yeah.
from their team overall in general, and I like a lot of their role players. They got like Dean Wade, I like Sam Merrill, I like Harris LeVert when he's hitting. I like Craig Porter Jr. He's a pretty good backup point guard. So yeah, I like their team in general.
Karis LeVert always has a game
Yep,
against the Celtics too. For some reason,
he
he
does.
dropped 30 on the Celtics like multiple times. But I think that right now they're looking like the biggest threat to the Celtics in the East simply because, well, you know how I felt about Orlando for Paolo's injury. So maybe Paolo
Mm-hmm.
gets back to full health and they could give us a run just because they match up the best defensively with us. That's the best. That's the real reason why I like Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that Cleveland has like they can score with us. They have a problem matching up with us defensively. Like just because, like we were talking about this yesterday, and you were saying that Mobley could probably match up with Tatum, and he can probably maybe for a game or two. But I just think that Tatum will get like Tatum gets used to a guy, and then he figures out how you're playing him, how you're
Right.
guarding him, and that's why if you notice, he usually gets off at later in series
Mm-hmm.
because he sees how they're doubling him. He sees where the double's coming from, shit like that, and he starts figuring it out. And that's for a lot of great players that do that. But like Tatum's like really
Right.
like that, whereas his game ones are like never as good as say his game fives or his game sixes. That's just how it is, which is not a bad thing, but it's just a thing. But the thing about Mobley is he's not used to being out at 30 feet, 32 feet for entire games.
Right.
So they're going to have to put other wings on him. And if they put, say, Dean Wade, who's probably their best defensive wing, if they put him on Tatum, which he's a decent defender, and then Jalen's going to be able to bully whoever he's got, whether it's Mitchell or Garland or whoever. So they have a weakness there that can be exploited. But I also think that they're humming at a different level than they were last year. So we got to hum at a different level too, or else it's definitely going to be a series. I could see them testing the Celtics, but I said this at the last time we talked about Cleveland. As far as a regular season team, they're like perfect because they're a good 82 game team. Because like you said, I said they can they even have a better when they're hitting like this. I could say that they might even be a better backcourt than Luka and Kyrie, just because I feel like Kyrie has been inconsistent and he's
Mhm.
kind of just like lost a little bit. And I think Garland is ascending, and if he's going to be ascending, we know where Mitchell's at, so they're like
Right.
closer to. I would say Luka is way above Kyrie, so I think that they're closer. So like that 48 minutes of like offense is a better 48 minutes of offense than I would say Dallas has. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I think that, and I think that over 82 games, that will pan out. But we could talk about Dallas another day because I want to see a little more of Dallas. But as far as Cleveland goes, I do think that they got a great team, and they're like one trade or one move away from being scary, like or being a championship contender. They already kind of are. Like they have a little percentage of a chance if they make a wing move for like a good wing or something like that. I don't know what the move would be. We could probably talk about that and think about that because we always like to talk trade and stuff. I think that they'll move away. So let's get into some other stuff. What about these are quick ones. So first of all, a lot, like I was saying, I think last pod or two pods ago that Cam Thomas would be like the best six man, like a Jamal Crawford. And that's another statement that I feel like I got to walk back because the way he's been playing, if he keeps this up, he's going to be an all star. And I don't think Jamal Crawford ever make an all star team.
Nah.
And on top of that, Nets are actually beating teams.
Yep.
They're straight up
They
winning
beat they
right
beat
now. I'm
Memphis.
not
They beat Memphis twice. I think I forgot who else they beat. Did they beat Orlando? No, they didn't beat Orlando. But I know they beat Memphis twice. Those are two really good wins. Brooklyn's actually a little they're a little more feisty than I gave them credit for. They do have a
and
bunch of
Schroeder's
veterans in that
playing
team.
good, but I just
Yeah,
wanted to
Schroeder
say
is
that
playing
about
good.
Cam Thomas that he's showing me that he
Yeah,
might be a little bit more than what I said.
he's a starter
And
level.
I
Level.
still think that he could be like, Ginobili came off the bench before,
Right.
so you could have a Hall of Fame player be a bench player. So I'm not saying he's on Ginobili's level. I'm just saying that he, if he did come off the bench for a team, that'd be ridiculous. And I said that on the first pod that he would be like the best six man you could possibly have on like a contender. But he's looking like he could be an all star
More than
slash
that.
starter on a lot of teams. Yeah,
Yep.
more than what I said. So I have to say, and you got something to say about him?
I mean, I didn't really expect this level of production from Cam Thomas, but I mean, I thought last year when he did get more increased touches that he was a pretty good shooter. I don't really have any, I don't really feel any way about Cam Thomas. He's a good player though, starting level player in the league. Shouts out to him to
Yeah,
being
he's
able to
not
do
a
what
good
he's doing.
playmaker. He's just a crazy tough shot maker. And it's like he's one of those guys where like if he's not scoring, like Buddy Hield, he's like even though he's better than Buddy Hield, but I'm just saying, like if he's not scoring, then what is he doing? But at the same
Right.
time, he's always scoring. Like that was how Isaiah Thomas was for the
Hmm.
Celtics. Like if he wasn't, people used to say that. Like if he had a random bad game, they'd be like, "Well, when he's not scoring, what is he doing?" I'm like, "Well, dude is always scoring though." So it doesn't really like matter that he doesn't. What is he doing when he's not scoring? He's dropping 30 every night. But yeah, Cam Thomas, I just had to walk that back just a little bit. Let's talk about the Wizards because I finally got
The
around to
Wiz
watching them because I've just been
kids.
watching clips. Yeah, the Whiz Kids. I've been talking about because I like a lot of their players. I like the clip you sent me about Kashawn,
Yeah,
how he was,
that was funny.
uh, yeah, how he was talking shit to Draymond or whatever. Bilal, he's just showing me every time. His first step's crazy. When I watched him
Yep.
live, like I was talking about, his feel is very good. Even when he's missing shots, I like the shots that he's taking. He gets to the rack
Hmm.
easily. I mean, he's a superstar. I think not now, but I think he's going to be.
Soon.
I really do. I think he's going to be at least top 15 player in his prime, if not higher. And his defense is great. And I love the Wizards roster. Like it's crazy because
Mhm.
we talked about this, but when I watched the full game of them, and I think they were losing by like 20 points the game I watched but and parts of the game, but just the athletes that they got out there and just how they're moving out there. Even like Kashawn, he couldn't make shit, but he's still getting good shots. His handle for his size is crazy. His defense is good. Bub Carrington, his defense looks good
Hmm.
for a guard, and his handle, he can finish, he can score. Like I just like a lot of things about their team. But that's your squad. So
Yeah, well, pretty much what I like, even I'm not even sure to start. I mean, last game Keyshawn Loki had a breakout game. He had like 6 threes. He's like 1 for 9 in the first half, but in the second half he actually started hitting shots. Just kind of you could see like what he can be. He took 15 threes last night, which is great for the Wizards. I mean, they need a guy like that who can space. And what I love about him is that he can also put the ball on the ground. He's actually a really, really, really good
Me too.
passer. And like I said, he used to be
Yeah,
I think he was a point guard like more than like probably like 15 months ago. He just grew. He was 6'5" 15 months ago. Now he's 6'8". He said he's probably
yeah.
going to grow to
You can
6'9",
see it
6'10".
how he
So a guy
plays.
like that on the wing, yeah, a guy like that on the wing, that's crazy. Next to Koulibaly, who's also another guy who was a guard who grew into a wing's body, and he still has some of those guard feel with him. Just like as a pick and roll ball handler, as a ball handler in general, he's bringing the ball to the court. He's a good passer. I like the things I've seen with Sarr. He kind of plays like a guard in some ways. The way he busts the ball out, the way he
Yeah,
can put the ball on the
I
ground with
saw
his
him throw
floaters
a
and
full
things like
court
that.
bounce pass.
Yeah,
I
nah,
saw
Sarr's
Saw
really
throw a full
Sarr.
court bounce
Sarr's
pass. I
really
was
good, and
impressed.
then
Yeah,
Bub's another guy who also was 6 foot. He grew to 6'5", and he can rebound. He's a really good passer. He's a really good shot maker, and he can get to the rim. And he's not a great rim finisher yet, but like I said, he's growing into his body. As he gets used to just
yeah,
being in his body, he's going to become a better finisher. So I just like everything that Washington has going on. They're going to have a
yeah,
really good defensive switchable lineup between those four guys. And
yeah.
if Poole's
And that's
able to
what you
stick around,
need.
but Poole's kind of like the perfect spark
That's the
plug
type
two
of
guard
team.
to keep next to him. So
And yeah, and that's the type of like nowadays that's what you want. You want a switchable athletic lineup. They all can shoot, they all can handle. I think that they're building something good and they're just fun to watch. And people are probably like, "Damn, these dudes talk about the Wizards all the time," but y'all need to watch them. And I tweeted something and it was the Wizards fans got a hold of it and they started retweeting it and because I said they're like the fire mixtape rapper that nobody's hit to yet. And because
nah,
that's what it
facts.
is when you watch them, you're like, "Damn, these dudes got
They
some
got it.
shit. They're just gonna put it together. In a couple years, they're gonna be serious. They kind of remind me of like the Wolves, maybe a couple years ago, or OKC. In a couple years, I could see them being a serious threat in the East if they get the right, supplemental pieces. And the GM
Mhm.
doesn't like. The Wizards have a new GM from who
Yeah,
they
they
had for like 20 years, and who
right
was terrible. I can't even remember. I think his
exactly.
name was Garth Forman, and he was terrible. So like now they got a new GM, and you could tell with all the draft picks he's bringing in. And I like Keyshawn, man. I think that because he hasn't been making shots when I watch him, but just his handle and his savvy and the way he moves and stuff for that size. Same thing with Bilal. Like to have skill like that at that size, that's elite. That's what you want. So I think that is coming along with the Whiz kids. We're definitely gonna have fun watching them all year.
Both of those guys are still growing too. That's correct. That's what's
Yeah,
really
they
scary
might
about
even
it.
grow more inches because they're so young. I mean, and they're having late growth spurts, so that's crazy. So that's how you know that if they're not fully formed in their bodies, then those shots that they're missing now,
Mhm.
when they are, and they're fully formed into their bodies, those will be shots that they make, like at least a lot more at a higher clip. And I just like the shots that they get, that they can create
Right.
for themselves.
I love the
And
offense
then
that
the
they run
defense.
too. It's kind of like some Warriors Heat stuff, just the way they come out to split actions, have a bunch of handoffs
Yeah,
on the perimeter and stuff. I love the offense they
I
run
could
too.
see
Their
that.
coach is really good.
And that's the right one kind of offense that you want for them.
Right.
So we're gonna do a quick Jalen Wells shout out
Oh yes, sir.
for Memphis because he's probably the best one of the best rookies right now, which
Yeah.
is unexpected. And then John Morant, his playmaking has
Mm.
been probably the best playmaking in the
In the
NBA,
league.
I would
Yep.
say. So Smart's hurt. They got a couple guys hurt, but it doesn't even matter because Jaw's been playing great, and I think they lost to the Nets last night. But what do you think?
I mean, well, with the Jalen Wells, I just like him that's another wing that Memphis was able to get in the second round, along with Gigi Jackson, who they got in the second round last year, and Vince Williams. I don't think was pretty much undrafted, so them just being able to build a wing rotation for pretty much scratch is actually pretty crazy.
Right.
So I like those three wings, and I think it kind of makes, as much as I like Marcus Smart on the team, it kind of makes them expendable just in a
Yep.
sense, because if you have those three,
I
what's
see
to
what you
prevent them
mean.
from
I like
going and
Marcus
keeping
Smart, but
Smart?
he hasn't been playing good.
Right, and yeah, Smart. He hasn't looked like himself, so I think they could probably flip his contract into like another center because
Yeah.
Edie did have a good game last game, but I'm not
And
sure
there's
like in a
still
playoff
teams that
setting
would
you
take
probably want to
Smart.
keep him. Yeah, no, teams will take Smart. Yeah, I think like Edie in a playoff setting you might have to cut him like 20 to 25 minutes a game, and I don't necessarily feel comfortable with Jaren being a full time five. So I think they could use the Marcus Smart contract and flip that into another center. So Memphis is fully healthy.
Yeah,
Healthy.
Scottie
It's a
Pippen
big
Jr.
if,
is
but
probably.
Yeah, Scottie Pippen
He's
still
playing
there.
like
He's a
one of
really
the
good
best
backup point
backups.
guard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's crazy. They
yeah,
Memphis has got a good front office because they always find a little. They replaced Tyus Jones with Scottie Pippen Jr. Or
right.
who really kind of makes Marcus Smart expendable, where they can use that
Hmm.
asset for something. Not saying that they will get rid of Marcus Smart because who knows, they might not, and he could still be like valuable, but he hasn't been playing good to start the year, which I hate. That breaks my heart because I love Marcus Smart. But it is what it is, and if I was a GM, I know exactly what you mean because they got these other guys, and then Gigi Jackson's going to come back too. So between him and Jalen Wells, this is what you want for if they can just
Hmm.
stay healthy. I really love Memphis's team. I really want them to stay healthy so bad, especially Ja. I want to see 360 layups for 82 games. Like seriously.
Right.
All right, let's talk about my boy Jalen. We'll have a little Celtics. I know I got Celtics fans listening, so we're gonna talk about my boy Jalen because he's in a slump. He has a hip flexor, so he started the season kind of slow because he's obviously gained a lot of muscle over the summer, more than he even gained last summer. And I remember when he started the season off slow after gaining
Yeah,
weight
he
last
did.
summer. And he has spoken about this in interviews that he wants to like, he it takes him a while to kind of like get the cardio to meet the right place, and basically he sheds some of it as the season goes on, and it does seem like that because last year as the season went on he just got better and better and better, and that muscle just helps for like a long schedule, and if he just wears some of that weight off, it can help him. But it has clearly hindered his like speed slash explosiveness. And I'm one of the biggest Jalen defenders and fans there is. And even I was saying, because when he has bad games, I'm like, I'm not worried about him at all because I know what he can do. And he'll fuck around and save our ass when nobody can make a shot, and Jalen will come and just score like 35 points and save
Right,
our
right.
ass one night. So I'm not worried about Jalen, but I haven't seen him like this where like he seems a little bit slower, slightly, not like a lot slower, but and he doesn't have the lift. He hasn't tried to poster anybody, which if anybody that watches the Celtics knows, he tries
That's
to
what he
poster
does.
somebody
Right.
like once a game. So he hasn't tried to poster anybody all season. So that tells me a lot. And I think he's shooting 12 for 45 from three. So he's been out for the last couple games. And I hate when he's out because him and Tatum are pretty much the only ones that attack the rim. So when Jalen's not playing, then it's literally just Tatum attacking the rim when he doesn't settle for threes and stuff. Or like it's just a bunch of sprays and shots where we have such good shooters, we can still have a good offense. Like I still feel like, because you'll look at the numbers and they'll be like, you can look at the numbers with Tatum, with bench units, he'll cook and people will be like, "Oh, Tatum doesn't need Brown." Well, that's because you're looking at the numbers with the bench when he's going against benches. When he's going against other starters, guess who's on the court?
Jalen.
Jalen. Like you need him on the court against starters. Yeah, Tatum's good enough as a top five player to kill other benches. But when you go against a good team like against the Warriors, I hope he plays on Wednesday night because we're gonna need him. Because it's hard for like this is what my issue with Luca has been is that he tries to go 48 minutes with high usage the whole time, and you start
You're
getting
gonna burn
tired
out.
in the fourth quarter. Yeah, in the fourth quarter, you start. It's luckily for Tatum that we've had leads so big that he hasn't really have to play that much in the fourth quarter. But if it's a good team, and we do have to play deep into the fourth quarter, and his usage has been 35% the whole game, and it's way up there, then he's going to be tired at the end. So
Right.
I just say that to say we need Jalen back and we need him to be himself. But I also saw an interview with Tatum and that I wanted to bring up because he was talking about how, like, when he got drafted, it was on the Jeff Teague podcast. So that, I can't remember the name of the podcast, but Jeff Teague's podcast. And he's talking about how when he had his first workout with the Celtics and somebody in the front office said, "Oh, this is just the best workout we've ever seen, but we have the first pick and we're not going to draft you." And I just know that was Danny Ainge just giving a smoke screen. And so I just wanted to talk about that because that's funny. And I know he learned that from Red Auerbach because Red Auerbach was like the coach for Danny Ainge and taught Danny Ainge how to
Yep.
be a GM. And Red Auerbach actually once said that Danny Ainge was like a good luck charm and anything he does is like it's like lucky and shit. But I say all that to say that he learned that from Red Auerbach because Red Auerbach, somebody told me, an old timer told me a story about Red Auerbach and how Dave Cowens, who was like an MVP for the Celtics in the 70s
Hmm.
and was like a great player, he went to one of the workouts, like one of Dave Cowens' workouts when he was coming out of college. And I guess he was like all disgusted watching Dave Cowens and he like stormed out and was all like pissed off or whatever, and was like, everybody thought that he like hated Collins, and then he picked Count. I mean, that he like dropped to him and he picked him, and
Right.
that's kind of how what I think that's what Danny Ainge pulled the red hour back when he was like telling Tatum like that was the best workout we've ever seen, but we're not going to pick you because we have the first pick, and like, and they dropped that's when they made the trade with Philly,
Right. To
and
go
they
down to
took
three.
Fultz, and we took Tatum, and but so that was just all a smoke screen, and I just thought that was funny because like Danny Ainge is the fucking GOAT, bro. Like he has some things about him that with the Jazz, even that I could say like, what are you doing? But at the end of the day, like the big moves that he makes, he always gets right, and that's like the most important thing is to get the big moves right.
Right.
And so like. I just thought that was a dope story, like because I put two and two together. No one really has talked about like that, but I just thought about that Red Auerbach story, and I'm like, that's where he got it from. The same shit. I want to that Marcus Haynes or whatever the reporter.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah,
That dude's
that
a
was sorry.
scumbag. What was that about? So I don't
Right.
have any beef with MB about that, but I do probably have beef with Paul George waving off Maxi last night.
Yep.
Um,
So yeah, so basically, just to talk about the Maxey and Paul George dynamic, which is pretty much what I was saying with Philly when they signed Paul George was how was he going to fit in with Maxey? Because I feel like Maxey and Embiid had a really good two-man chemistry already, and I think that was pretty much like almost unstoppable in some ways because just how good of a screener and threat Embiid is off of just who he is, and then Maxi being this very fast downhill presence who can also create out the dribble. I just like that. I just really like that two-man game synergy, and I thought that maybe adding Paul George, who doesn't really like to play off ball, he just kind of likes to dance. He kind of likes to do his own thing. I was just very concerned about how it would affect them, especially in closing time, because I feel like Paul George wants to close. He's a veteran. He's been doing this thing for years. So, and we saw an example of that last night, which is Paul George like you said, just waving off Maxi, saying I got this. So
yeah,
yeah,
when Maxi had the hot hand. See, I've seen nights where Paul George has the hot hand, and I would have been fine with him doing that. But bro, you're like 4 for 15. I'll say this: Paul George, he's like last night he was making playmaking, he was doing good. Um, but he couldn't make any shots. He was trying to will his team. I won't lie. Like he was making the right play a lot, and he was passing
right.
to the right guy, and they were either fumbling it or traveling when they got the ball or missing shots. So it was kind of just an awkward game, and it's his first game back. So I'm not gonna say
Hmm.
like he's gonna be trashed all year, but at the end of the last minute, dog, and Maxi has 30 something points, and you've been missing like crazy, and literally Maxi's coming to get the ball like this hands up and everything. And I looked at Paul George, and he straight up waved him, told him get down like towards the corner. This is like the possession before the last possession. So he did this 2 times in a row. The second time, Maxie said, "You know what? I'm not even gonna come because I don't want to get waved off twice." So like Paul George had the ball 2 times in a row at the end. It's just like, come on, dude. And then I don't know, but I do. So I was thinking, like, yeah, you're right. Like Bari was right about this shit. Like somebody's gonna have to tell PG that you're the third option, dog. Like you are. You're just the
Right.
third option, and you're gonna have your times when people are sitting. Like Paul George will get his staggering minutes where he gets the ball in his hands. But otherwise, or if he has a hot night, then I'm fine with it. But otherwise, it needs to be in Maxi's hands. And when Embiid gets back, it's definitely going to be in Embiid's hands way more than you. So you need to accept that.
Understanding
And
your
I
role.
don't know,
Right.
PG. And then PG, he's kind of cringe like when he like explains himself after the game and shit. And I hope that goes over with Philly. I hope he starts playing good because if he doesn't, then Philly will kill him. Philly's like even
Yeah,
worse than
Philly's about to turn
Boston
on
and New
him.
York. Philly is very negative, and if they will boo your ass or tell you about yourself like immediately. So he better start playing good. But I also think that Philly gets their shit together. They have one of the best rosters in the NBA and in the
Right.
definitely in the East. So like I said, I'm not throwing in the towel on the Sixers. I just think they got to figure it out and get and be right. But um, OKC's been looking scary good. They're so good that Caruso and Hardenstein don't even need to play really. They got shooters everywhere. Both their young guys taking a leap. SGA hasn't even really played like out of his mind good yet.
Right. Not yet.
He's been playing really like defensively. I've loved SGA what he's doing. He hasn't really taken a playmaking leap, but we know he can really score no matter what. But Chet and J Dub definitely taking leaps on both ends of the court. They both look like straight up all-star level players, and they're got the best defense in the NBA, and that's without Hartenstein. That's with Caruso playing barely. Uh, Muddy's playing like 20 minutes a game. All these dudes, Isaiah Joe,
Casey
Wallace,
Wallace,
like just all of these
yeah,
guys.
Aaron Wiggins.
Wiggins is great. Like Wiggins has been playing great, so they're scary good. And I don't even think they have to make any more moves, but they can obviously. But right now, there's a clear cut best team in the West to me, and until further notice. So we don't have to like talk about them too much, but I just think that they're scary good. And I already tweeted that the Celtics better stay dangerous because I
Nah,
seriously
facts.
think that they're going to give us a run. And if especially if we're not healthy, we don't have Porzingis or some shit like that, then it's definitely going to be a run. The Wolves, you wanted to talk about the Wolves rotation, and I was saying how Jaden McDaniels, we could possibly think about upgrading that spot, but I know that Anthony Edwards would throw a fit about that and probably would say no. But just thinking championship, like his offense, and then we looked at the numbers because we were talking about Mike Conley's kind of washed, and Jaden on offense, and then what you told me the numbers about their on offs or whatever when Jaden and Conley are off, they're way better when they're off.
Right.
So far, that's how it's played out. How we were basically saying how those are the two spots that we're worried about. And I'm not saying that I don't like Jaden as a player because I do like Jaden McDaniels, and I think a lot of teams, and that's kind of my point, is that I think a lot of teams would like Jaden McDaniels, and so you could probably get something for him that could help you to
Hmm.
maybe win a championship this year. But I don't know if that's what they're going to do. And maybe Jaden also just starts hitting shots. And it's only it's only in the third week of the season or going into the third week of the season. But so far, the numbers haven't looked good with them on the court.
Yeah.
What do
So
you think about
basically,
the
in the
rotation?
pretty much what I've seen when they close with Nikhil for the most part because Jaden just hasn't. Chris Finch even said it the other day that Jaden hasn't been providing them the defense that he would like. So I see that's why they've been closing with Nikhil, and Nikhil and Dante are just better. Like they're more decisive as decision makers and playmakers when they get the ball off of the catch. Or like when they get it off of the corner and they're attacking closeout, they're just better at Jaden at just doing stuff with the ball, like just being extremely decisive with it. Especially Dante in the
Right.
Charlotte game, he actually finally had like a good scoring 3-point game. He's been doing the other things like rebounding and passing pretty well, but he actually had like a good scoring input game last game, so that was exciting to see for them.
And
He
he'll
made
get
some very
more
tough shots.
comfortable, I feel.
Yeah. Finch played. They was a blowout, and Finch played him in the fourth for some time just to get him acclimated and some things like that. So I did like that. I really like the Dante and Nikhil lineups a lot right now because I just like those three.
That's
Those
their best
all three
one.
of those guys are pretty decent passers and they can do stuff with the ball in their hands. And Nikhil is pretty much I mean, he's not he's really not that far from Jaden defensively if we're being honest,
Yeah.
especially on the perimeter. Maybe
Right.
Jaden's a better like shot blocker and weak side wing protector, but they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
really use
Nikhil is a
Jaden like
really good
that. So
defender. And he seems like he's getting better on offense. So that's a big deal. Um, Especially if Jaden's not getting better on offense. One of them has to get better on offense. So
yep,
I think that you're
and
right about that. And then you got Nas Reed, who's just like bro, he's starting to
yep,
get his little thing together. And I love Randall's passing and his playmaking. He's by far been the best passer on the Wolves.
hmm
And also Dante, we were talking about Dante, and I think he's gonna get more comfortable, start hitting shots, and he straight up clears Mike Conley. And
yeah,
I mean, Mike Conley's still Mike Conley, and he's going to help along the way. But Dante is
yeah.
the better
He's
backcourt
been
mate with Ant.
he's been making some shots in the last few games, so I haven't really had too much to complain about Mike Conley. But I honestly think that the Wolves need to play Rob Dillingham at some point this season because I mean he played last night. He just looks. I mean he just
That's
looks.
how Wolf fans feel.
He can pretty much get to where he wants when he wants to, and you kind of need that on the court, especially if you throw on the court with Dante and you can go to very offensively slanted. I mean, that's really not even offensively slanted because Dante and are no slouches on defense. So if you can put those two out there with like a Nas and maybe a Rudy, or even you can go Nas, Randall, Rob, Dante, and I mean those lineups are really good offensively. You can match team.
Yeah,
This is why this is why the T Wolves are just as good as OKC just because of how deep they are and just how many different looks that you can give teams, especially as
yeah.
it
I don't think
goes
they are,
along during the
but
season.
I think they're close, and they could be like if their chemistry gets right. Like if Dante starts playing at his peak level. Um, and I
Hmm.
think that you're right about that. They have so many different rotations they can play That's what's dope about them, and that's what's going to make them so tough. Because literally, they could play any style you want. You want to get play rough, physical defense, or if they want to throw out Nas Reed and Randall, or even Nas Reed and like Wings and Dante, or like they can just do anything. I'd like to selfishly see Rob Dillingham play just because I like to watch him play. Um, just similar to how I want to see Reed Shepard play selfishly, but I know
Hmm.
that like maybe they don't contribute to winning right now. But I think that if you see, you have to live with rookie mistakes, and that's the problem.
Right.
That people don't want to live with rookie mistakes. But I want to talk about the other night. Well, actually, the Bucks. We already shitted kind of on the Bucks and said it was over. I'm not completely like I don't know if Doc Rivers is going to get fired, but I am saying that it's over. Like even Dame last night, he was playing so good with no Giannis, and it's just like clear to me that they do not belong together. And
Right.
I think Giannis knows it. I think everybody on the team knows it. And then I saw the game winner when he's out there. He's supposed to be the most versatile defender in the league, voted by the GMs, and he's out there guarding George Niang on the final possession.
Right. In the
And
corner.
not to say that he would have stopped Donovan Mitchell, but I'm just saying, stop saying this guy is the most versatile defender. You were saying that he lost a step on defense. I'm just tired of hearing everybody say he's the most versatile defender when, like, I see guys like Tatum. I see guys like,
Hmm.
who else? OG Anunoby. Just I can name like a bunch of people, even Bam. Bam will get
Right.
out there and he'll get a stop on you. Like if especially at the end of the game, Giannis is not that guy, man. Giannis is a good help defender, and with Brook Lopez being washed the way he looks, and then defensively, Giannis losing a step, and the Bucks are in trouble. They're in trouble, boy, and
Yeah. The
I think
defense
Giannis
just
is going to
the
be
defense. The
traded,
defense just
or he's going to ask for a
yeah. The
trade.
defense. Yeah. I mean, I'm not. I'm not sure. I mean, honestly, because I mean, the services of Giannis would be sought after throughout the league. It would just be pretty hard, I think, to get to like an
Make
agreement
that
with the
trade.
Bucks to actually be able to make them trade. Unless Giannis does like formally request a trade, then I can see something like that happening. But I just don't like. I just like you said, Brook lost a step, Giannis like lost a step, and they've been giving up so many points to guards this season. I think
And
guards
then
average
Middleton,
almost like
who's their hope.
58 a game on them.
Middleton's their hope
But
to
I can
come
see.
back, but he's bad on defense and slow on defense too. He's just going to add to the slow footedness of the team. As a team,
Yep.
the roster's messed up. And it's been getting gradually worse over the years. Bobby Portis is terrible on defense.
Hmm.
Like just I don't know. Uh, I just and then I look at a couple teams like Houston or Miami or New York, maybe next summer that will be trying to get Giannis. It's going to take about 6 draft picks and good players, but I think that a lot of teams actually will be trying to get him, and I think that they could probably get a deal done if he requests it. Obviously, they're not going to trade Giannis unless he requests it, but I could actually see him requesting it just how he's been talking about shit lately. And he seems like he just wants to win championships, and he doesn't probably have that many years left of peak athletic ability. So he
Right.
knows that he has to cash in probably in the next few years again if he wants to win another one. So that's that with the Bucks. I don't even think I want to talk about the Bucks again for a while, but I just thought that had to
Yes.
be mentioned because I saw Dame last night going off, and that just was just another epiphany in my mind of that they don't fit together. Because look at this, Dame looks like the old Dame now that Giannis is gone. Like
Hmm.
that's not what you want to see. The Raptors, they look interesting. I watched them beat Sacramento, and then they had RJ Barrett's been playing good. Like he had that 12 assist game against the Lakers. So I don't. I have only watched a little bit of them, but they're just like an interesting team. I know the Pelicans got the worst luck I've ever seen.
Yeah, their injury
With
luck is
their
insane.
whole starting five is hurt pretty much, except for Ingram. Ingram's been playing good, and that's another problem with the Pelicans. Is like Ingram only plays good when dudes aren't playing, and
Right.
I don't know, man. They're just so messed up. They piss me off more than any other team, and I feel like I want to be the GM of that team so I can fix them. I really honestly feel like I can fix them. They just need to consolidate some of these players and get Trey Murphy more minutes when he comes back, and if you're going to keep Zion, Zion hasn't looked that great this season, considering that he looked like he lost a bunch of weight, but he's also hurt now. So I don't know, but they're just one of those teams that has the worst luck, bro. Like their whole team's hurt. And they if they could be healthy, they could be easily a playoff team. But it's just like they're the most
Right.
aggravating team to me, at least one of them.
Yeah, my
What do
pretty
you
much
think
with
about
me with the
Pelicans?
Pelicans. Yeah, pretty much me with the Pelicans. I mean, even guys like even the young guys that they like Jordan Hawkins, he's out right now with some lower back soreness. Trey Murphy's out with a hamstring injury. Herb Jones is out. Like it's just like the injury luck is that they have is actually pretty insane. I think at this point they might want to
It's
look into
crazy.
maybe
They're
like you
worse.
said,
They got it
consolidating
worse
some
than
pieces or
Memphis.
even just yeah, they really do. So like you said, they might want to look into consolidating some pieces or even just tearing this thing down from the ground at this point because it's like this iteration of this team is clearly probably never going to be healthy at the same time for what we've seen over pretty much a 2 or 3 year sample of having these guys together. So it's like at this point, if you really want to get
Yeah,
some good production, like some consistent production, you might want to look into trading some of these guys. Even you might have to look into trading. Well, Ingram's been explored on the trade market, but the way he pretty much what I've been hearing from Pelicans fans is like, why not keep Ingram? Because he's the one that's playing basketball right now. So it's like you might want to look at a trade into Zion. I mean, but do you really want to do that? So like the Pelicans are pretty kind of stuck in my opinion right now. So they're in wait
they
and
are
see
stuck,
mode
but
to
they could at
see if
least
they
get a
do get
center out
healthy.
there instead of Daniel Tice.
Yeah, no, I mean Missy's been good, but he's a rookie. He's gonna take a minute to develop.
But
But
he's
I
a
do
rookie.
like
You're gonna
what
have
he
those
can be.
mistakes, and yeah, he
Hmm.
could. I'm not even gonna say little pieces because they're all good pieces in their own right. Except for CJ, I would just get CJ the hell out of there. Even
Yeah,
though
CJ's
he's been shooting
yeah,
good, he shoots like 40% from three. So like he's still a professional player and he's good off the bench. But they got him starting, playing too many minutes for me. When they have other better players, but and I like they had so many good like wings that I like that they had to get rid of Dyson Daniels. Like,
right.
I mean, they got DeJounte, and I can't wait to see. Just I even forgot that they even have DeJounte Murray because he hasn't played yet. But I want to see him on the team. So they're just an aggravating team because I just love so many of their players, man, and I just want to see them kind of figure out what they're gonna do and consolidate this team. But we saw Jalen Johnson's kind of bounce back because I was worried
Yeah, he
about
did.
him on the Hawks. But I watched him. He was like the only good player against the Celtics. Trae Young was terrible. I don't know what's going on with Trae Young because we were talking so good about the Hawks, and I love all their wings. Even Shea was making reverse layups, a couple acrobatic ones against the Celtics. And I was just like, damn, this dude is for real. And I've already seen like some of his defense and stuff like in other games, and I like Shea as a first pick. I think him and Sarr were underrated as first and
Yep.
second picks. I really do. I don't think they're going to be like
I
superstars, even though but I think they're possible all-star players. I do, and
right.
they were acting like it was going to be all role players. Like basically, they were saying the top 10 was going to be like fucking role players. So they were wrong because I really feel like they got high upside. Um, that dude Reese just say is taller and more athletic than people realize, and that helps a lot when you're in
Right.
the league. And he's got like fluid motions. He's a smooth athlete. He doesn't look scared out there. He's pretty confident. Um, but I really like Hawks a lot of players. But Trae Young, we were talking about him, and you were the one that kind of pulled my coat. That Trae does not look right when he's in the ISO. He's never been like an
Hmm.
amazing ISO player, but he's always been able to like separate and get his shot off. But lately, when I see him try to separate, I mean he's having to shoot rainbows to get it over people because he can't get any separation. He's not blowing by people. Like he kind of looks like he kind of lost a step or he might be hurt. But I'm worried about Trae. I mean, obviously his pick and roll game is going to be elite because he's the best pick and roll player, or him and like
Right.
Luca maybe. I don't know. He's one of the best, if not the best pick and roll player. So he's going to still be able to do that. But like I think you're right, man. I think something's going on with him, or he's just not good in the ISO anymore. He never was good, but he at least could get his shots, or he could find a way to get an opening. So that's not good at the end of shot clock. He can always call for a pick at the beginning of shot clock or in the middle of the shot clock. But when it's at the end of the shot clock and it's Trae Young's got
It's
the
on you.
ball and he can't get a shot off because he's short and he can't separate, that's a problem. Um,
Yeah, I think.
so that's that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think with Trey, I think honestly, I think the league has kind of just caught up to him because it's just a lot of more longer athletic defenders than when he was doing what he was doing in the ISO. Like you're running into teams like OKC nightly, you're running into teams like Boston last night, who has a bunch of switchable defenders who could just stay in front of him now. So I just think that just with the league getting bigger and more athletic, that it's kind of nullified what he's good at in ISO situations, in my opinion. I think that's really what's going on, and he might be
And
hurt. It's
that, and on
possible, but
top of he lost a little something. I know he did. Not like maybe he's just like hurt or he's got like a sore ankle or something too. Like, but to start the season, yeah. But I do think you're right that the league has kind of caught up with him, and his defense is obviously terrible. So like, but he's also a great like he's a good engine for them right now. But I don't know, man. I don't like he might not be. It's like sometimes I feel Trae Young is underrated by people because he gets like
hmm
overhated, and then sometimes I think that maybe he is overrated. Like I don't know, but so I'm like always flip flopping on him. But like some games he just has like big kahunas and makes big shots and he knows how to run an offense. So I like the Hawks. They're an interesting watch, but I am a little bit worried about Trey, like moving forward into the future on how valuable he would be, especially on like a winning team,
hmm
a contending team. Is he a number two? Is he can he even play as a number two? It's a couple
That's my
things that you got
that's
to
really
worry
my main
about.
concern with him. Can he actually play? Can he actually downscale his role into being a number two? That's really my biggest problem with him. I mean, we haven't
Right.
seen if he can do it, but I'm not sure if he can do it just the way that he plays basketball. And it's just his release
Yeah.
point, even on catch and shoots, because you can't really run too many motion actions with him. I'm not sure. We haven't really seen him do it all ball yet, so we would have to see. But in the role he's in right now is just clearly not conducive for him playing realistic, like good winning basketball. It's just not. It's not what he is. Number
Yeah.
one. So
And so the last thing I want to talk about is the Clippers because I was at the beginning, like the last podcast we did, I said that James Harden was in my top five MVP. Well, he's not anymore. Uh, Not because he's been playing like terrible, but the Clippers have just been bad
yep.
since then. And the Clippers were playing really like above their head. But I still think that James Harden's having like a good year, but he can only do so much. They were down like 30 points and came back and beat the Spurs last night, but it's the Spurs. And I have a problems with Wemby still, but I don't want to talk about that right now. But just how he's just taking way too many threes and shit, and I'm just tired of it. But
I mean, I hate to be.
his defense is crazy though.
I would hate. I hate to excuse him, but I feel like I do. I don't like that he shoots as many threes as well. But it's kind of like if you really think about it, it's like he's the best shooter on the team right now. I mean, honestly, in some
Yeah, they don't
respects.
have any shooting, so okay. All right, so you just made a good point. Like he might have to be that spacer, but bro,
Mm.
I'd rather like I'm if I'm the defense, I'm like, go ahead,
Yeah,
bro,
shoot it.
shoot as
Yeah, no,
much as you want.
I agree. I agree with that 100%. But I also but I would
That makes
also like
sense.
him to
You
get
kind of
into
pulled
the
my coat.
lane.
You just dropped a gem on me just now because I just look at him as a singular player because the Spurs
hmm
are so trash. I can't even look at the rest of the team
Right,
except for
right.
my boy Stephon Castle. I see
Oh, yeah,
flashes from
yeah,
him,
yeah. Kessel
but
been, yeah, he's been open. Okay.
he has like he's up and down. But I just like his game, like his athletic ability and his feel, and I feel like he's gonna be a good player. But yeah, man, Wemby, he's pissing me off. But that's not what I talk about. I just Harden. I was just gonna get back to Clippers. Like I don't know what they're gonna do, bro. Like, what are they need to blow that shit up? They're the most egregiously built team. Like, even teams like the Raptors and the Nets and the Wizards and stuff. Like, I'd much rather be them than the Clippers. I think they're the worst off team in the NBA right now.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a more worse off team.
Nah, I don't think. Nah, I think I agree with you for the most part because the main problem with the Clippers is they don't have any other draft picks, which is a big problem that they
They don't
have
have
going
their
on right now.
picks. That's what I
Right. So
mean, and we need to
that's
explain that too.
that's really why they can't. That's really why, in my opinion, that they can't tank because if they do tank, they're pretty much they're getting they OKC owns their draft for the next like 3 4 years. So they really I don't think they really can blow it up because it would just mean conceding a lottery picks to a team that's not
And that's
yours.
why they're in the worst spot. They
Yep.
don't have their own picks, so they can't tank. So Cooper Flag, AJ Demansa, who they should be tanking for right now, they can't.
Right.
And then Kawhi's done. He's cooked. Even if he comes back, he'll be done
I
within
think he's
like
out for.
a year.
I don't think he'll play for the. I
He
don't think
might
he'll play this
retire
year.
soon, honestly. Uh, but even if he comes back, it's not like we can trust him to stay healthy for any kind of time. Harden is doing his best, like, and he's going to be like the only thing to watch on that team, basically. And I don't know, man. They're just that trade that they made was terrible. Uh, like all that, like between the Paul George trade to trade SGA and all those picks, and then and now giving Kawhi. a new contract when you as bad. I would have never given him that contract. As bad as his knees are, they are cooked. I would have never gave him that contract. I would have tried to trade Kawhi. I would have tried to trade Kawhi as soon as he got healthy and looked like he was kind of okay. And if I could have convinced the team to take him, I would have done that shit. Like, I don't know what they're doing, but that's good. We had a good ball up top podcast. It was a good chopping it up, man. And we're only gonna just keep getting better, man. But what you want to say, Barry?
Hey man, shit, appreciate you for having me on here, man. You know what I mean? It's always a good time talk a ball with you, and can't wait to the next episode.
That's what we do. Yeah. See you guys next episode.
Yes, sir.